Hey everyone, it's time for another live look at the astrology. This is June 14th through 20th, 2021, and my name is Katie Sweetman, and this is Empowering Astrology. So, wow, we have a lot of astrology going on right now. Sorry for a little bit of a late start. I had to do some puppy wrangling. Yeah, I got a puppy. Everything's changing. This is the thing about the astrology right now. Things have to move. Things have to change. And if you're watching live, or even if you're watching the replay on Spotify or YouTube or IGTV, let me know how you're feeling right now, because a lot is happening. It's sort of like we condensed a lot of stuff in June. And I really do believe that June is a bit of a defining month for everyone this year. It's like there was the first half of 2021 and there's the second half of 2021, and something that I've been saying over and over again, that 2021, let me go back for a second. Let me go to 2020, and 2020 was sort of like the hard stop. And you could say objectively, well, okay, of course, Katie, like, look what happened in the world, look what happened to all of us. And what I'm personally referring to is Saturn conjunct Pluto, which we had in January 2020. So it's like 2020 was the hard stop, and then 2021 is sort of like we are sort of going into different directions. And the analogy I've been making over and over again, it's like in 2021, you've got one foot in a new life and you've got one foot in the old life. And you're going to feel that tension. You're going to feel that push and pull. And that's the thing about when I use this imagery of a tectonic plate, for example, you cannot make the tectonic plates go in the direction that you want. They sort of want to go in their own direction. So there's this sense of like needing to align ourselves with something in 2021, and maybe that's a little bit different than what we had envisioned in 2019 and maybe even 2020. So we're feeling a little bit split right now, or a little bit of some tension, a little bit of some push and pull. And that's because two planets, Saturn square Uranus. We'll talk more about that in a few moments. Actually, just right before we went live, we had the exact square at 13 degrees of Taurus and Aquarius. But that's not the only thing that's going on this week. We actually just are coming out of a solar eclipse. We had a solar eclipse last week, and even though the eclipse was last week, its energy is still with us. So yes, like eclipses, Saturn square Uranus, everything is sort of coming together at the same time. That's says the universe has a sense of humor, hopefully. But if you are, say, a Taurus, a Leo, a Scorpio, or an Aquarius, you are likely feeling this the most. And not to say the other signs aren't feeling this. And I actually I got a question about this energy. They wanted me to talk about it on my live today. Why would you be feeling this? Well, if you are what's called a fixed sign, like I said, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, you're feeling this because it's sort of pulling at the four corners of your life. It's pulling at career, it's pulling at your home, it's pulling out relationships, pulling at you. If you are a cardinal sign, so my Aries, my Cancers, my Libras, and my Capricorns, you are also feeling this because Saturn is one of the main players in your astrology. Saturn makes up one of the four, the rulers of one of the four directions of your chart. And especially my Capricorns, my goodness, Capricorn, you've been going through so much over the last decade with Pluto in Capricorn. It's sort of like you got to 2021, and now you have to really let go of the past or get out of your own way. So if you're a Capricorn that's listening, this is your week to get out of your own way, to let something go because it's holding you back. It's sort of a pattern, a stuck pattern. And I do believe it or not, in a benevolent universe. And I do believe that the astrology in a very objective way is trying to get us back on track, or it's trying to get us to open or to turn on, the light, so to speak, internally or externally. It's trying to get us to see ourselves differently and make necessary changes. But we do have free will, and you hear me say over and over again throughout these, my live broadcasts, that the astrology is 50%. You are the other 50%. The astrology is just energy. That energy is a container that we sort of put ourselves into. We live inside of it. We color it. We color it with our emotions, our experiences, our consciousness, our awareness. But that's why you can have two charts, let's say same day, even like same hour, same hospital, two very different people. Because you are your own person. You are your own soul, so to speak. So why else would we be feeling this energy this week? Saturn square Uranus. Because you may have something in your chart, and this is where you either need to work with an astrologer like me or somebody else, or maybe you know your own astrology. But if you have planets, and this is a technical point, this is for my intermediate people or my professional people that are listening, but if you have planets at about 13 fixed, 14 fixed, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 is like the range. And I would even go even earlier in the sign, because, you know, I think the thing I've been saying over and over again, a little bit ad nauseum, is that something began in May of 2018, March 2019, especially with those fixed signs. And this, even though we are having astrology right now that's at a particular part of the sky, it's not disconnected from something that began in 2018, 2019. It's just like another step in a bigger story. And you know me, I'm a nerd for dates. I like to go back in time and look at the different things that are going on when the cycle began, and even you know, what's going on 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But, you know, not to get too ahead of myself. But yeah, like, let me know how you're feeling these energies. Let me know how you felt last week's eclipse. Something that's worth mentioning is that eclipse, and this kind of based on a comment I got maybe like a month ago or a week ago, or wow, time's so strange right now, that eclipses, they can manifest before. Maybe you felt this eclipse energy in May, or even April, or you will feel it in July. And I know that there's sort of no logic about that. It seems a little arbitrary, but you start to get what are called triggers. The moon's a trigger. Mars is a trigger. Mercury can be a trigger. Full moon can be a trigger. And then activates that eclipse energy. That's why some of you saw this in April or May. Some of you are seeing it right now. And some of you, you know, as we go into this week, because we have the first quarter moon this week after an eclipse, or maybe even as we go into later, you know, as we go into later in the month and into the beginning of July. But something, and I just direct you all to last week's broadcast so you can refresh yourself as aware, something has changed. You know, this is where my mutable signs come in, my Geminis, my Virgos, my Sagittarius, and my Pisces. You're the ones last week that were seeing the shift. You saw these new beginnings with that solar eclipse. That's not to say that we are all feeling these eclipses. But yeah, you know, we have a little bit of an eclipse hangover right now. This eclipse, last week's eclipse, really touched on Neptune in its sort of ethereal nature, and its reminder that we're not always in control. That statement can be terrifying. That statement can be liberating, depending on how you look at it. But Neptune is teaching us to go with the flow, to surrender, to get back in touch with the higher plan, our higher self, to push past illusions of the ego, distortions of the ego, and really start to get in touch with something deep within ourselves. So there's a sense that we're going into this new chapter, the chapter that began on June 10 with the solar eclipse, that over the next 6 months, we have to do Neptune. And Neptune says that we aren't always in the driver's seat. And sometimes we sort of push and push and push because we want something, but it actually maybe isn't the best option. So maybe that's something, you know, it's like we have all this energy with other things going on right now, and maybe we need this Neptune. Maybe Neptune's slowing us down. Maybe Neptune's getting us to reflect instead of, you know, take action, push, do things impulsively. I think with Neptune, there's a need to get in touch with your intuition and to reflect. But Anyway, again, my name is Katie Sweetman. I'm an astrologer and psychic medium here in Brooklyn, New York. And well, to be fair, not for much longer. I'm actually moving just across the river to Jersey City. Yeah, big things are happening. And sort of this is my segue into this week's astrology. We have a Saturn square Uranus today, June 14th, Monday, June 14th, at 13 degrees of Aquarius and Taurus. So this is big astrology. Why? Saturn is the planet of structure and boundaries and rules and regulations and time and karma and aging. And it's the planet that sort of keeps us all in a nice container. And it says, okay, you do this, you work hard, you get here, your life becomes something. And there's, me, I love this, maybe you don't know me, maybe this is the first time you're listening to me, but I love Saturn. I think Saturn has a really bad reputation. I think, of course, there's negative Saturn, there's negative Jupiter. Jupiter's supposed to be the good guy, but there's positives and negatives to both sides of the planet. But Saturn, it sort of sets the structure of life, and that is either something that we really struggle with, or we sort of work with it, positively to build our lives. But sometimes we get stuck. Sometimes we get a little too calcified in a way, and then we need to get pushed out of our rut, and that's where Uranus comes in. So just a refresher, Uranus has been in Taurus since May of 2018, March of 2019. Taurus is our sign. It's the second sign of the zodiac. It is a very nuts and bolts, it's the resource, and it's money, and it's really the basics of life. That's what I'm looking for, basics. Like, I love Taurus. Taurus is just like, let's just slow down and enjoy things. But I'm Scorpio. I'm just like, let's just burn it down and start all over again. But Taurus, it talks about the essentials and the fundamentals of life. Now, it talks about it on a monetary level, it talks about it on a resource level, food, stability, security. But sometimes we get stuck in ourselves, we get stuck in our ruts, we get stuck in our patterns, we are afraid of change. Taurus is a fixed sign, it's the first fixed sign, and we need fixed energy. Fixed energy is exactly as it sounds, fixed, because you need life to be solid, so you can do other things. You don't have to worry about, do I have enough food? Do I have enough money? Do I have a place to live? That's where Taurus comes in. Taurus is like, you got to make that solid, and then everything else can build around it in theory. But Uranus, the planet of awakenings and revolutions and doing things very differently, went into Taurus and basically said to all the fixed signs, but especially Taurus. Taurus, if you're watching, you're in the midst of a huge revolution. It said to the fixed signs, okay, the way that you had things organized before, well, we're just going to turn that upside down, because I don't think Uranus is doing this, arbitrarily. I think that it's trying to show us where maybe an old pattern, an old rut, old way of doing things is just old, or it's confining, or it's actually detrimental. So, maybe if you are a fixed sign, so again, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, you can see that there's been a shift, and perhaps even a palpable shift, since 2019, if not 2018. I know sometimes I ask my clients this, and sometimes they scratch their heads. The narrative is not so obvious, but nevertheless, a story began, and you have these moments like today or other points throughout this year, or maybe even the end of April when we had that Scorpio full moon, where the story makes itself known. And sometimes it's just not obvious, because we look externally and we're looking to see if, there's been a job change, or there's been a relationship change. And you're like, okay, well, that's it. But sometimes it's subtle. Maybe it's internal. Maybe it's you made a change in how you live, or how you see things, or how you take care of yourself. And you can look back and you're like, oh, wow, actually, that's it. So today, Saturn square Uranus. So they are making the second of 3 squares. The third one will be December 24th. So that should be an interesting holiday season. The first one was February 17th. So these are 3 stress points. And I say stress, it's not bad. It's just stress. February 17th, June 14th, December 24th, where something has to shift. It's like the creak, it's like the crack, it's like the 2 plates moving, something's pulling this way, something's pulling that way. The idea is that when we get into early 2022, things are going to be different. Maybe you live someplace different. Maybe you're in a different job. Maybe you're in a different relationship. Maybe things have changed for the better because you finally got out of your way. That's the idea. You know, the goalposts as they were a couple years ago are not the goalposts now. This is what the astrology is trying to show us. So you're maybe feeling it this week. Somebody said they love me earrings. These were made by a very good friend of mine, Iman. I don't think she's selling her stuff anymore, but yeah, I should give credit where credit is due. But yeah, that's the big thing for today. Well, you know, what's really dominating the astrology this week is the Saturn square Uranus. But I really want you to think of it as part of a much larger story. You know, something that when I was going back, when I was doing my writing today, and I was looking at the previous times of Saturn and Uranus were in connection together, they made an opposition in 2008, November of 2008, a couple of times. Actually, I get the dates out for you. November 4th, 2008, February 5th, 2009, September 15th, can't read my writing. September 15th, 2009, April 26th, 2010, and July 26th, 2010. These were 5 dates when Saturn and Uranus opposed each other. And I was thinking back to that time because I've been in my apartment since the end of 2009. So there's like that, you know, 2009 is like a huge time in my life. And even, you know, 2008, I had my Saturn return, 2009. Started empowering astrology in January 2010. So in a way, empowering astrology was birthed during the Saturn-Uranus opposition 10 years ago. Because at that time, I was, you know, coming out of the wreckage of my Saturn return and realized that astrology was this very powerful medium, and I wanted to teach people. I wanted to share. Maybe teach is not the right word, but I wanted to share my own experiences, my own insights on astrology. And at that time, I felt astrology, the landscape of astrology has vastly changed over the last decade. But what I wanted to do was to share a different perspective, because I remember, and this is the thing, you read about Saturn square Uranus and you look through it from a very traditional lens. It's scary stuff. You know, I remember being a kid reading about Saturn square Mars. I have Mars square Saturn natally, and it said terrible things. And these are books that were written in the 1970s. So I was like, this can't just be it. You know what I mean? Like, we have to be able to work with this energy. This is really where the genesis of empowering astrology came from. Maybe it was this energy of Saturn and Uranus. But how do you use this astrology as a positive force in your life, a positive force of change and transformation? Empowering astrology is not what is going to happen to me astrology. It is why astrology. Why is this happening? How can I learn from it? And this is understanding the shape of time. You know, astrology is the shape of time. And this week, the shape of time is shifting, and this is why we're all feeling it. And like I said earlier, if you have planets or angles right at or near these degrees, the first square is at 7 degrees. This one's at 13. I think the next one's at 11. You know, so my early to mid fixed signs, you guys are really feeling this. So don't resist it. You really need to allow this energy to move. And I think this is where today we also have Sun square Neptune. I think this is where the Neptune energy comes in, because otherwise we're just going to hurt ourselves. We're going to keep trying to like run up against the wall, and we can't do that. It's not sustainable. It's not productive. So we'll look at what these are meaning for the 12 signs in a moment. We also have a couple other things this week. We have Jupiter turning retrograde on June 20th. So if you recall, Jupiter went and, did I say, I can't remember what I said, Jupiter in Pisces, if I didn't say that. Jupiter went into Pisces on May 13th, and it was actually only a dip, because today it turns retrograde at 2 degrees of Pisces. It's just like it goes in a little bit, and then it starts to turn around and go back. And Jupiter will be in Pisces, it will go back to Aquarius on July 28th. So this is just a little preview. And Jupiter, this is what I was saying, Saturn has this reputation in astrology as being a malefic. And I think, for good reason, Saturn can be a malefic. This is a traditional term, by the way, malefic. And Jupiter is a benefic. It's sort of this planet of good fortune, and you read all these wonderful things about Jupiter, but there's this other, just like there's a dark side to every planet, there's a dark side to Jupiter. However, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but Jupiter in Pisces, it's sort of, Jupiter's at home in Pisces. It strengthens Pisces. It gives life. It gives force to Pisces. And Pisces, what is Pisces? Pisces is faith. Pisces is inner faith. It's spirituality, it's compassion, it's forgiveness, it's understanding. Now that's high Pisces. There's the other side of Pisces, which is loss, it's misunderstandings, it's illusions, delusions, and a sense of separation and isolation. But I think that there's, of course, the nice side of Pisces. I think Jupiter is really helping us to find, hopefully, some faith right now, to believe in miracles, that something may happen, throughout all of these ups and downs lately, that there actually might be a silver lining, and that somebody actually might be there to help us. So as we go into later this week, we go into this weekend, look for the unexpected silver linings, look for the help, look for the people that are almost like the quote-unquote better angels that are trying to help you right now. And maybe you need help. Maybe life is a bit upside down at the moment. But I think that maybe Jupiter in Pisces is giving us a little bit of support right now. Also on Sunday, June 20th, and we'll talk more about this next week, but the sun goes into Cancer late Eastern Daylight Time, late on Sunday, June 20th, and we start Cancer season. So happy early birthday, Cancer. We still got to wrap up Gemini season first, but Cancer season is not just the start of summer here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's also the start of winter in the Southern Hemisphere. So it's a new season, and we're sort of turning a corner and going into a new time. We've been very focused on this mutable energy. Gemini is a mutable sign. It talks about the flow, the ebb and flow of life, and the movement of life. But yes, we need to finish up with Gemini season. We need to get through Saturn square Uranus before we can get to Cancer. So let's review what this means for you and the 12 signs. So, Aries. So let's go back to Saturn square Uranus. So Saturn is in your sign of friends and community. It's also in your sign that helps you to look ahead, plan for the future, get the bigger picture. But nevertheless, this is a time where Aries really needs to know exactly who their friends are. And maybe the people that were their friends before 2020 are not the friends they are right now, because Saturn can be a little brutal in Aquarius, meaning it's just going through your contacts and just deleting friends. But what Saturn wants right now for you, Aries, is to have quality friends, the friends that are going to be with you over the years, who are actually a support. And Saturn in Aquarius is very equity minded. So it's very important that friendships be equitable at this moment, that they sort of, you and somebody else, or you in a community, or you in the group, we sort of see eye to eye. You have Uranus over in what's called your second sign. Second sign is about money, income, stability, security, but also about value. So maybe there's a bigger question right now that's going on for Aries, is like, do my friends value me? does my community value me? What's my self-worth in the greater whole? Maybe you're feeling a little bit different, maybe you're feeling a little bit isolated and separated, but this is a time for you to really affirm and to open up your worth and your value and what you have to contribute as an individual to your community, your whole. When you get to Aquarius in astrology, you're really getting into bigger abstract things. You're almost getting to the almost like the fabric of humanity. And it's like, well, where do I belong in the greater fabric of the whole? So these are maybe some deeper existential questions that are going on right now, Aries, but this is a lot about money and value. If it's not sort of these more abstract things around value, maybe it is this back and forth between how you reshape your values, how maybe even transform your relationship with money and spending, and how that changes your directions for the future. Taurus. You've got a lot going on right now. And if you are Taurus, I'd like to hear from you, because possibly this is a huge time. The idea is that if we go back, May of 2018, March of 2019, you began a 7-year chapter. And the idea is by the time that you get to the end of this 7-year chapter, Taurus, you may even physically, but certainly you are very different. The idea is that you need to get out of your own way. This is Taurus having a huge breakthrough. This is the idea, at least. So if Taurus, you're like, nothing's changing. I'm like, Taurus, allow something to change. Because, you know, if we think about this a little bit more philosophically, you don't want to let this time pass you by. Even though it might be scary to make changes, but there's only certain windows of time where the energy is sort of primed for certain things. You'd have to live another 84 years, and I'm pretty sure, unless you are a teenager, or even younger, and you're probably not watching this, and if you are, wow, you're not going to live another 84 years. So it's like, this is your time. Like, go with it. If you've been afraid to do something, then use it positively, proactively, to make a change, to start over, to reinvent yourself, to get out of your own way, to break out of old patterns and old confinement in a way. And some of that is through your own beliefs, because you have Uranus up in the part of your chart that talks about beliefs. Wait, am I doing my astrology wrong? Yes, I'm doing my astrology wrong. You have Saturn up in your career sign. So this is also a time, I'm pretty sure beliefs are in there somewhere, probably because Saturn rules your 9th sign. But this is about, you have to change so that your direction in life can change. Or you've been making so many changes in your personal life that your professional life has to change, meaning you went into 2018 in one profession because it fit you, but you don't fit that profession anymore because you've made so many changes. So you are, like I said, a lot of pressure is on you right now, Taurus, to reinvent yourself. On the other end of things, yes, this is about your professional life, but also needing to define, because Saturn loves definition, needing to define your place in the world. My joke is Saturn is asking you, Taurus, right now to, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It doesn't matter if you're 25 or 85. What do you want to be when you grow up? So that's a question that you're trying to figure out over the next year and a half, 2 years. Saturn will leave Aquarius March of 2023. By the way, lots going on in March 2023. Pluto goes into Aquarius for the first time. But yeah, what do you want to be when you grow up? So you are making a lot of big seismic changes right now, Taurus, and just trust that they are for the better. Gemini. So Gemini, you are coming off of last week's eclipse. Life is in a time of new beginnings. If your birthday was June 10th, plus or minus a few days, it's going to be a big coming year. But this energy is taking place in a part of your chart that talks about faith and truth and convictions and what do you believe in. But then you have Uranus in your 12th sign. So that part it's happening on a little bit more of a subtle, ideological, spiritual, internal level. It's not the big changes that you're seeing with some of the other signs. So maybe you're having to open up to your blind spots right now. Uranus is in your 12th sign. That area can talk about, what are you not seeing about yourself? What are you not seeing about the world? And part of the chart also talks about the unconscious. But it's also a space where it's very liminal and we are able to access something beyond this world. So maybe there's been some spiritual shifts over the past couple of years. And then, you have Saturn up in what's called your 9th sign, and that's the sign where you outwardly define what you believe in. And this could be religion or philosophy or some sort of ideology or some sort of truth that you align yourself with. But the idea is that maybe the truths that you had going into 2021 are not the truths that are sort of pushing back and forth in your mind right now. And I think it's a time to really trust your heart, really get in touch with your intuition, Gemini, really allow yourself to go into the subtle places, pay attention to your dreams. Maybe that's a place where you are getting information about this energy and how this energy is relevant to you, because it's showing up in when you're asleep, or it's showing up in your daydreams, or it's showing up as kind of like a voice that you hear in your head. For those of us who are clairaudient, sometimes we hear voices. Side note, I'm a psychic medium. I'm clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairgustient. Anyway, side note. So lots going on in your life, Gemini, right now, but it's just happening. There's like this other layer to it because you have the eclipses. There's this other layer about it that's really pulling at faith. So this is an existential time, Gemini, and really sit with these existential questions, search, explore, try out different philosophies. This would be a time for foreign travel or long distance exploration. Maybe you're able to do that now. Things are kind of shifting and shaking in the world. But yeah, Gemini, this is a powerful crossroads for you right now, and that's both because Saturn square Uranus, but also because of eclipse season. Cancer, happy early birthday, Cancer. Cancer, Saturn is your relationship sign. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Saturn is your relationship planet. So Cancer, this is taking place, these sort of pushes and pulls in a part of your chart that talks about your community, the groups you're involved with, your friendships, your social circles. And then you have Saturn in what's called your 8th sign. So this is a little bit of a heavy time for my Cancers. I've been saying this kind of week in and week out because this is what I like to call it, you're quote unquote in the 8th room. Saturn has led you into a very particular place in your astrology where you have to face yourself. You have to do the deep work. You have to feel the feels, feel these really powerful emotions that are coming up for you, face the things from the past that you are still holding on to that maybe you haven't dealt with or healed. And the idea, Cancer, is that when you get to 2023, you're in a very different space. And it's like, here's the thing, we don't grow as humans, we don't grow as spiritual beings unless we're tested. That's just the physics of things, because you don't get that wisdom and knowledge unless you go through the test. You get tested by life. You have to face yourself. You have to face your fears. So Cancer, you're in that space right now, and this is where that alchemy, that spiritual, emotional alchemy happens, where you grow in a way that you transform, just truly transformation. So you're in a time of transformation, and I know that word can sometimes seem trite in astrology, but it's to really understand why. Why now? Why do you need to transform? It's because life is testing you. It's going to test you for another year and a half, to be fair. So really take care of yourself right now, Cancer. Make sure you have the support from friends, support from the people or the circumstances that you need in order to take care of yourself right now. So you're having a lot of deep emotions come up. It's really shifting and shaking and changing the way that you're seeing the future. Maybe it's shifting and shaking and changing your social circle. Maybe you're like, can I trust my friends? Who are my friends? But to another earlier point, Saturn is your relationship planet. So Cancer, you may be seeing this between you and somebody else. It could be a primary relationship, such as an intimate partnership. It could be somebody you have a direct one-on-one connection with, but it really doesn't have to be like a marriage or a serious relationship. It's all relationships. So really pay attention, Cancer, as to what is the narrative that's happening this week, because there is a greater story, and this actually goes back to 2008. You entered this story in 2008 of where you have to really transform, again, I know the word's trite, but really powerfully transform how you connect to people. And I think that this year is where you sort of take it to the next level and really see what is at the core of a lot of things right now. Leo, you are in the mix. You're what's called a fixed sign. My joke is that the fixed signs are not so fixed right now, and there's a lot of things in your life that maybe going into 2020 and even 2021 you didn't think were going to change, or maybe you're now totally changing. So Leo, this is, something I've been saying for a while, is that you are in a much bigger time of completely reinventing your career. Uranus is in your career sign. It's been in your career sign since 2018, 2019. This is the joke that I often make. It's like you went into this time and let's say you're a lawyer. You're a lawyer because your parents are a lawyer, their parents are a lawyer, their parents are a lawyer, so forth and so forth. But you're doing something in your professional life that is not you. So you sort of came into 2018, 2019, and Uranus is like, what are you doing? You don't want to be a lawyer. You hate this. It's sort of something that's been stamped upon you, or it's a shape that you are fitting yourself into, but it's not your shape. And here, let me help. So, Uranus being so helpful has maybe been turning your professional life upside down over the past couple of years. But the greater point to all this is that you do what you want to do in the world. You take your life in the direction that you want to take your life in. And I know that sometimes that sounds like a little bit of a fantasy. We don't always have that luxury. But this is a time for you to be you out in the world, for you to, and I'm not a Leo, I just have a really important planet in Leo. So, I was working in IT until 2019. Astrology was my side hustle, but the universe was like, what are you doing? Yes, IT, you can do it. It pays the bills, pays it well, but it's not you. It's not your shape. It's something that you stepped into as after college, but now it's time for you to be your shape in the world. So that's sort of the analogy that I make, and that's what I did that in 2019. I'm not saying it was easy, but it's sort of, had to take that next step. So Leo, what is the next step? Maybe this week is kind of asking you and pushing you and pulling you to take that next step. And then you have Saturn in your relationship sign. So this is a time, Leo, that's about serious relationships, serious partnerships, serious connection. It's not just intimate partnership, but it's Saturn is in a place in your chart right now that is just reminding you that you need other people. You can't do things alone. So how do you create that connection? You create that balance in your life. And this is where Libra is the sign of relation, or is the scales. Libra is a relationship sign. It's the sign of the scales. Because if we try to do things all by ourselves, what happens? The scale tips. So we need other people to figure out where is that perfect harmony and balance in our lives. So yes, find that balance right now, find that harmony. And maybe you are starting a new relationship. Maybe something is profoundly shifting in an existing relationship. Maybe you are getting out of your own way. Maybe if you are in a relationship that's not working, it's imbalanced, you have to make it balanced. If it doesn't get balanced, then Uranus or Saturn's like, nope. Saturn's a very black and white planet. It's either working or not working. And if it's not working, unfortunately, it probably has to go. But nevertheless, Leo, big shifts in your career, big shifts in relationships. So hang on. Especially now that Mars is in Leo, because it's going to be probably an interesting next couple of weeks going into July. Virgo. So Saturn is in your sign of health and wellness, how you take care of yourself, how you organize your day, sort of the minutia and the details of day-to-day living. So Saturn's been really grinding on you to get your life in order, kind of get that very practical day-to-day stuff down. And you could say, Virgo, that you are already organized, and Saturn's like, great. However, maybe that system that you had going into 2020 or even 2021 isn't working. So it's a time to remake the system. Like if your day is organized in a certain way, and it's always been that way, then maybe you're seeing a lot of need to kind of shake up your day-to-day life. You have Uranus over in what's called your 9th sign, and that part of the chart talks about how do you see things, how do you see the world, what are your convictions, what's your truth, what's even your education. But there is a need to sort of shift your judgments. And judgment, there's a lot of ways in which you can see that word. There's judgment as in like we all have to make certain judgments about things. We have to come to a conclusion. But then there's judgment as in judgmental. We are closed into seeing any other way of doing something. So maybe Virgo, you are so stuck in your rut, so stuck in the way that how you see something that Uranus is like, here, let me help, and trying to turn things upside down a little bit. Or turn on your eyes. There's judgment. Judgment has two different ways you can say that word, but we can see things two different ways. We can see things literally with our eyes, or we can see things metaphorically, subtly, internally, spiritually. So how do you see things differently right now, Virgo? So this may mean that if you see things differently, you might have to change something about your day-to-day life. It could even mean something about your health, or something, making positive, lasting changes in diet, for example. Maybe you're realizing, oh man, actually I'm allergic to XYZ, and that sort of have that light bulb that goes off. But this might be a time, Virgo, where a light bulb does go off. For you, Saturn is also a planet that talks about how you express who you are. So you have to shift. Something, Virgo, has to shift. And you're sort of in a time, or were in a time the last couple of years, where you needed to put yourself first. And I know that's not always Virgo's MO, but Virgo sometimes forgets to put on their mask first. When you're in the plane and they're watching the safety video and they tell you to put your mask on first, and Virgo is like, oh, I missed that. So this is a time where it's like you have to make sure you put your mask on first. Anyway, life wisdom, Virgo. Also I'll add that because you had eclipses, Virgo, life's interesting at the moment. Maybe you're seeing a change of home, change of residency, change of job, change in direction, change in responsibilities. So you are at a crossroads in addition to what's going on with Saturn square Uranus. Libra. So where are we at? We got Saturn is in the part of your chart that talks about your faith, not your faith, sorry, a little wires crossed for a moment. Saturn is in the part of your chart that talks about how you express who you are, meaning taking yourself seriously, taking your talent seriously, taking your creativity seriously, because we all have something that makes us. As I say, there's 8 billion people on this planet, but there's only one us. I know that sounds cheesy, but it's actually true. So you have to get in touch with yourself right now, Libra. What makes you you? Meaning when you leave this planet, God forbid, what remains? Is it a memory? Is it a feeling? Is it a sense? And what goes with you. So really get in touch with yourself right now. The thing is that you have Uranus in what's called your 8th sign. So you are in this time of, quote unquote, being in the 8th room, different than Cancer. We were talking about that during the Cancer section, but you have to sort of awaken to the part of yourself that's an inner saboteur, where your emotions, the past you've been holding on to, your traumas, get in the way of you being you, and sort of facing yourself and facing your fears and liberating yourself from yourself. So this can be a really powerful time, Libra, but you have to sort of do the work. And I know, Libra, you're already doing the work, but there's sort of this push and pull to look at where you sabotage yourself. But also at the same time, is like, where do you get in touch with that really intense alchemy of creativity and the alchemy of self? You know, you have to really get into your emotional material. And this is especially if you're a creative person. I will also add that if this is the part of what's called the 5th sign, where Saturn is for you, Libra, it's also the part of the chart that talks about children. So maybe if there's a need to have pregnancy or maybe bring more children into your life, it's sort of bringing up a lot of complicated emotions, and maybe that's where the Uranus part is really opening your eyes to something. But I will also add that Saturn is Libra. Saturn is your planet of home and family. So even though that this is about yourself, even though this is about looking at the deeper aspects of self, it's also looking at the past, home, family, memories, ancestors, ancestral memory, ancestral trauma. Saturn, talks about where is home. And maybe, Libra, you are making a big change or a big move or needing to replant yourself so that you can create the life that you want, because you had to, Pluto is still in what's called your 4th sign. It's been there since 2008. So you've had to do a lot of deep emotional purging, psychic excavating, major changes in home and family to begin with. But nevertheless, this is a time when something on a deep structural roots level has to change. So do get out of your way right now, and maybe again there's a move, and that move, if there is a move, it is a symbolic move. Scorpio, you are a fixed sign, so you are also in this grouping with Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius, where sort of the things that you thought were completely locked down at the beginning of the year or even 2020 are not so locked down anymore. So life is changing now, right, Scorpio, and you have Saturn in the bottom of your chart. It's been in the bottom of your chart since December of 2020. And there is this sort of deeper philosophical question that you have to answer by 2023. Where is home? Who is home? So Scorpio, it is a lot about your home environment at the moment. Maybe you are making a move. Maybe you are thinking about making a move. Maybe it's a symbolic move. Maybe it's an internal move. Maybe there's something that's shifting in your relationship with home and family. Part of that is being affected by Uranus over in Taurus. Taurus is your relationship sign. So you have this really powerful, what's called angular, back and forth that's happening between Saturn and Uranus. The idea, Scorpio, is that over the next, well, at this point, another 4 years, well, when this started in 2018, it was 7 years, that you are in this, in total, 7-year period of completely reinventing how you connect to people. This does include changing how you use your voice in 2021, because Saturn is your planet that talks about voice and communication. But this is a time when something has to shift, sort of. Take 2. Sorry if you were watching the live broadcast. My internet company is something that I'm not going to miss when I move. So we're just going to pick up again with Scorpio, and then we'll have 2 different things on Facebook, but then I will edit them together and put them into one video. So if you're watching the replay on YouTube, on Spotify, or listening on Spotify, or watching on IGTV, this will be one nice seamless video. So thank you all for coming back and joining me for the look at the astrology of, what is today? June 14th through 20th, 2021. So we were right in the flow of things, and then my internet decided to go kaput. But yeah, it's, Mercury retrograde things. I know, retrograde, just gotta like roll with the punches. So we're gonna restart at Scorpio. Scorpio, you're gonna get like a little bit of extra information. But okay, so Scorpio. This is happening in the part of your chart that talks about relationships. It's also talking about the part that talks about home and family. So something I was saying before, this is the thing, I don't know where the internet cut out, so I'm just going to start at the beginning. Scorpio, you're in a time where over the next year and a half, by March 2023, you have to answer a couple of simple questions. Where's home? Who is home? It's such a huge time for Scorpio right now, because you're in this time where it is about really putting down roots, settling down, figuring out where you live, where is home and where is family. And maybe you are making a big move. I know I'm making a big move. That wasn't, I ever thought I was going to do this, especially even a few months ago. It's just sort of, kind of an opportunity opened up, and I was just like, all right, let's go try our fortunes elsewhere. But this is a time where, you have to like put your stakes down, and Scorpio, your home environment might be changing. You might be moving. People are moving in. People are moving out. Maybe you're just doing remodeling. Maybe that's the way that it's happening. But on the other side of things, you have Uranus in your relationship sign. So the idea is that you're in a much larger period of time, Scorpio, where how you connect to people, how you do relationships has to radically shift. New people have been coming in. New people will continue to come in. And maybe you might have somebody come into your life who is the avatar of Uranus, meaning they are, maybe it's a new partner, maybe it's a friend or a relationship. And this person is unlike anything that you've had before, because this person's job is to wake you up and to get you out of your way. Because Scorpio, you're really good at getting in your own way. You're a fixed sign. You want to be in control of everything. But that's the thing about this astrology right now, is that you're not the boss 100% of the time. You have to figure out how to bring other people into your life at the moment. So you might be seeing some big shifts and shakes right now. Life is sort of trying to get you to open up. You have what's called a Uranus opposition into 2025, 2026. So you're sort of in a similar boat, but different as Taurus, where something about you, something about your life, something about the four directions of your life will look radically different over the next few years. This just happens to be a major point in the story. I'll say this to everybody, you have to look at astrology as not these isolated standalone events. They are part of a bigger story. Like, I moved into this apartment in November of 2009, and then with the eclipses that we had, the solar eclipse we had last week, this personal share, that was the eclipse that my ex-partner moved out. And then here we are, 9 years later, that we had the solar eclipse again, like pretty much the same degree. It was just off 1 degree. Now I'm moving out. Like, what does that mean? When on a macro level, I don't know, but I can point and say, wow, these are two separate moments in life that are connected. But I can't zoom out far enough at the moment to see how they're all connected. So yeah, big shifts right now. And again, new people coming in, but also trying to answer some very simple questions. Who is home and where is home? Sagittarius. So you have Uranus in your sign of health and wellness, how you take care of your body, how you organize things, how you do your day-to-day life, work, projects. So something about your work life, something about your day-to-day life may look radically different than it did 2 years ago. But the bigger idea is that something has to shift about your day-to-day life. You have to change your relationship with your body, or change your relationship with your health, or do your projects or work differently. And then you have Saturn in your third sign. So this is a time when you have to make very different choices. You have to use your voice, you have to use your mind. You have to take your mind seriously, to take your voice seriously. But this is where maybe your choices, your voice, the decisions that you're making, your perceptions, how you see things are radically shifting. You know, Sagittarius, you also have other things that are going on because you just had not just a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius on May 26th, but you had a solar eclipse in your relationship sign last week on June 10th. So you're already at a big crossroads right now, Sagittarius, especially even with Jupiter, your planet in Pisces, you know, sort of at the bottom of your chart. But I think that this is you have to sort of navigate and steer your life differently. And if you've been thinking about making some radical changes in diet, health, wellness, really take this energy and use it positively. Maybe you're just like, I need to start going to the gym, or I need to work with a trainer, or I need to really cut out this because it's detrimental to my life. But I think with Saturn over on the other side of things, you have to really weigh your options right now and make the best informed choices. Saturn for you is also a planet about money, but it's also the planet about value. And maybe it's about seeing the value behind the choice, looking at the hidden side, the hidden costs of things, but even the value of taking care of yourself. So maybe you're seeing a lot of big shifts in that department this week, Sagittarius. Capricorn. So as I said in the first part of the broadcast, which, you know, like I said, I lost internet for some reason, Mercury retrograde. Saturn is your planet, so you are feeling this on a personal level. You have to shift. Saturn is also your planet that talks about money and value, and maybe what you value has to shift. What you spend money on has to shift. How you value yourself has to shift. And you have Uranus in what's called your fifth sign. The fifth sign is how you express who you are. It's your individuality, it's your persona, it's your identity, it's your creativity and your talents. So you have to really open up to who you truly are. Saturn is a wonderful planet. Capricorn is a wonderful sign, but it can be very, you know, rigid. You know, it's a sign of matter. It's the densest sign of all the zodiac. It's the Saturn ruled Earth sign, and so you've got Uranus just trying to, like, you know, sledgehammer you out of your own way. But really, there's the idea is that over the next few years, if it hasn't started already, how you express who you are, even your sense of who you are, your individuality, your identity, will radically shift in some way. And the idea is if you went into this time thinking that you were this, X, Y, whatever, you come to realize that you're actually something very different. And maybe this is, you know, like I've been saying, you can't look at this week's astrology as some sort of isolated and standalone event. It connects to a larger story. Fun fact, the Saturn-Uranus conjunction that started the cycle was in 1988, and then you had the square, the first opening square in 1999, 2000, and then you had the opposition 2008, 2009, 2010, and then here we are, the closing square in 2021, which, what, another decade, and then we have another conjunction. But anyway, yeah, these are huge arcs of time. But then again, Capricorn, you're the sign of time. You're the sign that talks about big arcs of time. But, you know, maybe you're starting to see the bigger picture. But all I can say, Capricorn, is get out of your own way, because this is not the type of astrology where you want to be resisting what you know deep down in your heart you don't want to resist anymore. So really allow this energy to open you up, and maybe it'll break you open, but maybe it needs to break you open, and it's necessary. Aquarius. Saturn is your planet. You are Saturn ruled air. You are about the big ideas, these intellect and information and systems and networks and science, technology. So Saturn is in your sign. It's been in your sign since December of 2020. So Aquarius, you are in this sort of 2-year, almost 3 years, if you sort of take the dip from 2020, March to July of 2020, Saturn dipped into Aquarius, where you are in a new cycle of time. You are in a new 30-year cycle of time. I know that that is a vast amount of time to comprehend, but it's sort of like you are at the beginning of a journey right now. So you have to sort of take everything seriously. You have to take that next big step up in your life. Things might feel weightier, like you have more responsibility, like you have more things to do, maybe like you have less time, but you now have to be Saturn. What does it mean to be Saturn? To be Saturn is to be the mentor, to be the authority, to be the person who has worked and understand and sort of integrated life's lessons. They're able to teach life's lessons, they're able to set a higher bar for people, but there's also somebody that understands that things take time and that life has responsibilities and that you have responsibilities. Saturn is in the room with you is the best way I can put it. So if you're resisting Saturn, don't resist Saturn right now, because Saturn is sort of looking over the books, looking over everything, grading your homework, and you want to make sure you're on your best behavior, because Saturn in a way is like a life coach. Saturn sees your potential. So right now, Aquarius, the bar is set higher, but here's the rub. You have Uranus down at the bottom of your chart, the part that talks about home and family. So there is this need to completely shift and shake the very foundation of your life. I've had so many Aquarius and Aquarius rising clients who are making massive moves. If it's not a literal move, then it's a psychological move, or there's some sort of shift in family and home. But Aquarius, like, something has to change, and I said this to Capricorn, and I'll say it to you, like, you can't get in your way right now. Again, you're at a beginning of a chapter, you're beginning of a very long story, you know, it's sort of how your life works. You sort of have these very distinct 2.5, 3-year chapters. But in order for you to step out on this new chapter in your life, you have to have a new foundation. So that may mean a move, that may mean making some big changes in the family. You know, this even includes, like, maybe you grew up with really toxic family members and you're like, you know what? No. Just because we're blood related doesn't mean we have to be in each other's lives. This also can include that as well. But Aquarius, big things are happening right now. Last but not least, Pisces. So Pisces, this is happening in the part of your chart that talks about your voice. You have Uranus in your 3rd sign, trying to open up your voice, but also not just your voice. It's how you think, how you listen, how you learn, the things you choose, your ability to perceive all the different options of life. And so maybe, you know, you didn't have a voice a couple of years ago. Maybe you have a voice. This also does speak to intuitive voice, because Saturn on the other side of all these things is in your 12th sign, and the 12th sign is the sign that sort of brings us to the end of the personal zodiac or the zodiac chart, but it also connects us back to source. So how do you trust your intuition? How do you listen to yourself? How do you discern between sort of the mental mind, the anxiety, the thoughts of other people, but find yourself, find your true self, and find your internal compass at this time. But it's a very existential time right now. And Pisces, Saturn is coming to the end of this great 30-year arc of time. Yes, 30 years. And it's as if, Pisces, that you are looking at your life right now. You're sort of surrounded by the boxes of your life, the boxes that contain 30 years worth of memories and things you've been holding on to. And you're just like, why? Why am I still holding on to these things? You want to be very discerning right now, Pisces, about the stuff you're holding on to, because when Saturn goes into Pisces in March of 2023, the things that you bring with you are with you. So, you know, it's like let go of stuff. It could be physical things, it could be emotional things, spiritual things, because that's going to really lighten your journey as you go into 2023. I know I'm getting ahead of the game, but you also, you know, kind of posing a question to you also, Pisces, like, what do you believe in? What is your faith? What is your inner faith? And how do you get in touch with that inner faith? Do you meditate? Do you pray? Do you reflect? Do you go on retreat? But there's a very deep and profound time right now, Pisces, and it's a time that's really asking you to let go and to shed the past. So that is your look at all 12 signs. I know you're like, if you're catching this and you're like, wait, what about the other ones? It's because I got my internet connection cut off. So you have to go back to the other version. But if you are watching this on YouTube or IGTV or listening on Spotify, it'll be all nice and seamless for you. But that is your look at the astrology of this week of June 14th through 20th, 2021. My name is Katie Sweetman. I'm an astrologer and psychic medium here in Brooklyn, New York. And we gather every week to look at the astrology and to talk about these larger points that are affecting us all astrologically, and how do we work with this astrology. So you can follow me online at empoweringastrology.com. I know some of you are my clients. Thank you for watching. You can book a consultation. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, subscribe to this channel on YouTube, and I will see you all next week. Hopefully we'll be uninterrupted by the internet. May the Mercury retrogrades be ever so kind, and till next week, bye.